Hello and welcome everyone to the season finale of the Mandlorian Season 2. I am your friendly neighborhood hookahologist and you are listening or watching Cinema Smoketography. And we're finally here. Episode 8, Chapter 16, The Rescue. And holy moly, was there so much going on in this episode. I cannot even explain my emotions, oh my god, I'm on a mini vacation right now. I finished it up. I've watched this episode at least 5 different times. And oh my god, it gets better every single time I watch it. I just can't with it right now. I'm smoking Baja's Dirty Peach, wonderful peach flavor, out of the Union Hookah, also known as the Capuchin, and we are talking about the Mandlorian. My god, what an emotional roller coaster this season has been. There was just so much going on. This story between Mando and Grogu finally comes full force. I mean, last episode we saw that Mando had given the speech to Moff Gideon that I'm going to take the child back, basically mirroring his speech from the last season. You know, he means more to me than you will know, so on and so forth. We know the lines. But let's get started. We first open up with Slave 1 taking out an Imperial shuttle. I forgot what the shuttle was called, but it's where only the top Imperials actually kind of get transported in. And you see that 2 pilots are transporting, Dr. Pershing. It's now known as the clone engineer, if we hadn't already known that, right, from the Camino badges. But he's being boarded by Boba Fett, Cara Dune, and Mando and Fennec Shand. And it's just such a great kind of opening. And once they're boarded, Mando and Cara Dune, go for the Imperial shuttle. And they're going to collect Dr. Pershing. Hold on a second. Nope, sorry, my cat stopped. But it was crazy. We saw Dr. Pershing kind of just be scared and be held hostage by one of the pilots. And then that's when Cara Dune is saying, give it to him. He's a top engineer. He's wanted by the Empire and the New Republic, probably before his trade secrets. Now I think it's because the New Republic is thinking about cloning a New Republic army just in case. But I don't know. Obviously, it doesn't pan out, right, because of the resistance and everything like that. But we kind of try to figure out what's going on. But then we get, oh my god, pause. We get that Cara Dune is being antagonized by the other pilot, because one pilot's given up. He's like, all right, never mind. So one pilot shoots the other one and takes Dr. Pershing hostage. So what we see next is just an intimidation tactic. He's like, oh, I know what that means. He sees her tattoo for being an Alderaan survivor. He's like, oh, I was on the Death Star. And then Cara Dune makes a smart remark, oh, which one? Funny. And that's when Cara Dune is being taunted by this pilot. I saw your home be destroyed. And it was just intense. You can feel the tension building with Cara just not wanting to shoot the guy, but he just kept talking shit. He's like, it was only a small price to pay for the Empire, or so on and so forth. I forgot what he said exactly. But then Cara just had enough of him, blasted him in the face, and Dr. Pershing is covering his ear because the pistol was right to his face, and then he hears the blaster bolt, so causing a lot of trauma to him. And then it's when Cara Dune walks away, and you see Mando just looks like, wow, that's kind of understanding what she's going through, right? Losing your whole planet like that, and Mando can kind of relate because he was a foundling in the Clone Wars when the Separatists attacked his homeworld. Next we see Slave 1 go to meet up with with Bo-Katan and the Night Owls. Now, what was a cool thing, and like, this was another interesting take to it, because we all know Boba Fett's a clone trooper, an unaltered clone by Jango Fett. So we can actually see where this is all kind of coming into play here. Sorry, I'm messing with my calls as I'm doing this. But Mando and Boba Fett walk into the bar, and everyone's just kind of intimidated, kind of walking away. We're like, oh god, more Mandalorians showed up. And Mando asks, like, I need your help. He's like, not all Mandalorians are bounty hunters. And then they have another little quip. Be like, oh, well, I know I need to find Moff Gideon. Like, good luck, because we now know Bo-Katan is looking for Moff Gideon because he has the Darksaber and she wants it back to rule Mandalore. Boba Fett is telling her, like, we don't need them. We don't need them. We can do it on our own. And then that's when the other Mandalorian is talking. He's like, oh, I didn't know sidekicks could talk. And he's like, oh, really? That's kind of smart remark over there. And then that's when Bo-Katan's like, you're a disgrace to your armor. This armor was my father's. And that's when you see even more hostility come in. He's like, don't you mean you're a donor? I heard your voice so many times. He's like, oh, it might be the last one you hear. And you can see that, you know, Bo-Katan can probably recognize the mark of the new Mandalorians, which were, you know, enemies to Death Watch a long time ago. So you can see that there's a lot of hostility going on, and the fight kind of starts off when Boba is fighting one of the other Mandalorians, and it was kind of cool because you can see them both using, you know, their grapplers and everything else like that. And they finish by using their flamethrowers against each other, and it does nothing. The Bo-Katan says, all right, we'll help out, but I want the light cruiser he's on to help take Mandalore. And Boba Fett's like, Mandalore? The Empire turned that place to glass. Like, it has no hope. So a lot of Mandalorians don't recognize Mandalore as their home anymore because it's pretty much been destroyed. The Empire mined it for all the Beskar. They probably torched it so even the sand on there is turned to glass. So Bo-Katan agrees to help, but she wants the Darksaber. And Mando's telling her, I don't care what you do. The child is my only priority. I want the child. And she's like, fine. So now that Bo-Katan's on board, they all get on Slave One, and they come up with a plan to pretty much take back Baby Yoda, or Grogu, sorry. But we see that they have a very detailed plan where they're going to use the landing shuttle to get into the light cruiser, and then Boba's just kind of be a distraction for everything else like that. We don't see Boba too much ever since his, you know, fight on Tython. We don't see him fight too much, other than kind of right now. So they all make the plan, and Dr. Pershing makes a comment like, this light cruiser used to house so many troops, but there are no longer that many troops on the shuttle because guess what? The Empire is kind of destroyed. But Dr. Pershing also makes a comment, be like, there's a lot of Dark Troopers on there. And we now understand there are Phase 3 Dark Troopers, and if you're understanding with the Jedi Knight games, the Dark Troopers Phase 2 are able to, you know, withstand lightsaber slashes and everything else like that, and they're all fully automated like droids. So Dr. Pershing makes a comment about that, and Mando's like, okay, well, we gotta fight droids now. So the plan kind of goes underway, and everyone's getting ready to kind of board. Sorry, I had a lot of energy today. So Mando and everybody are now kind of getting ready to board, and that's where you see Moff Gideon is releasing TIE fighters to try to help the shuttle land because they all know they're holding Dr. Pershing and everything else like that. So Mando is now kind of holding still. Boba Fett's making comments. He's like, just make the shots look good. He's like, don't worry, princess, I'll give it a good show. Now, when he says princess to Bo-Katan, it's not only an insult, but kind of like a hint to her lineage because she was the, you know, Duchess Sassine's sister and the former ruler of Mandalore because she held the Darksaber after Sabine Wren had given it to her in Rebels. So Moff Gideon is now kind of seeing how all this is going, and the landing shuttle blocks the last couple of TIE fighters from leaving. He's like, get the ship out of the way, what are you doing? And that's where we see kind of like an Avengers female casting go on here, where Fennec Shan, both Bo-Katan and her Mandalorian, I forget her name. Like I heard it like 100 times, but I always forget it. And apparently, she's not that important to me. And Cara Dune, all the females empowered and just blasting their way and making their way to the bridge. Mando holds back a little bit till all the fire is happening. He's making his way to the detention center and to stop the Dark Troopers from being released. So Moff Gideon has even asked, like, have the deploy the Dark Troopers, because they're going to be the best way to kind of handle everything, because they're basically impervious to everything. So we see everything kind of happen now, and they're making their way to the bridge, and Mando is making his way to Baby Yoda, and we're having a lot of things kind of cut between, you know, Bo-Katan and her team moving to the bridge, and Mando going to just kind of sneaking his way over to Grogu's cell. So he finally makes it there, but he passes the Dark Troopers, and they're already being activated. So this is like real Terminator T-1000 kind of stance here, where they're trying to pry open the doors, but only one gets through. So Mando is now trying to keep the rest from getting in, and they're just kind of pounding away through the door, cracking glass to break their way in. But Mando's having like a very hard time with just the one, right? And then this was kind of cool too. When Mando is like pushed up against a wall, you see the Dark Trooper punching away, but it's not cracking the Beskar steel. It's actually making a dent. You can probably see it right here. A dent. You can kind of see right here if you're watching the video. Making a dent in the wall. It's not making a big enough impact for everything else, right? So Mando is trying everything to kind of keep himself safe from the Dark Trooper. He releases the Whistling Birds, and they do a little bit of damage. Blaster bolts aren't really working, so Mando gets the Beskar spear and rams it right through him and takes it out. Then he releases all the other Dark Troopers out of the airlock, and they just kind of fly out into space. And we don't see them again. Yet. Excuse me. But next thing you know, Mando finally gets his way to Grogu, and by this time, Bo-Katan is now taken over the bridge and killed everybody on board, and notice that Moff Gideon isn't there. But where is Moff Gideon? I wonder. Ah, he's with Baby Yoda. Right? And then he's having a conversation with Mando, be like, look, he gives us a little rundown of the Darksaber. The Darksaber gives whoever wields it power over Mandalore. They have the power to rule. And Bo-Katan lost it to Moff Gideon, and is kind of, she needs to now earn it back in her way, right? So Mando is now talking to Moff Gideon, be like, look, all I want is a child. Let me have the child and I'll leave. He's like, fine, but I want you to take your whole boarding party and get the hell out of here. He's like, fine. But then he takes the child. He's like, I got everything I want out of it, talking about his blood. He wanted to study his blood, and we now know it's for, you know, to maybe even clone, you know, or inject himself with midichlorians so he can have Force sensibility. Which General Grievous tried to do in Legends to kind of give him Force sensitive powers, but it didn't work. So as Mando takes the child, about to take the child, Moff Gideon turns on him and starts attacking, and then that's when Moff Gideon and Mando have a fight. Mando is now using the Beskar staff, and we can see that in previously when the Beskar staff was used, it wasn't being cut by lightsabers. It was clinging against it, and it was combating it, and then, you know, Ahsoka cut through it eventually, but it's not very easily cut. But we can see that the pole, right, let's take it right here, is actually heating up in certain areas where, you know, the Darksaber's cutting. And it may be just because, like, the ancient Mandalorians had that saber, and it was made differently so it actually could cut Beskar if needed be. Doesn't necessarily have to, but it was very interesting to kind of see the Beskar staff, you know, have that effect with the Darksaber, because we've seen it before not have that effect. So now that we have all this going on, Mando defeats Moff Gideon, and now he wields the Darksaber. And he's like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And then they make their way to the bridge. Now that Mando has made it to the bridge and everything else like that, you see Mando try to give the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, and she won't take it. Which is kind of weird to me because, you know, she collected it last time from Sabine, who won it in Trial of Combat against Governor Saxon in Rebels. Well, she already wielded it but defeated him, and she just handed it to her and she took it. Reclaimed Mandalore. but she lost it in combat with Moff Gideon, which we don't see, but we know is possible. So Bo-Katan won't take it, and Moff Gideon's taunting him like, "Oh no, you can't just give it to her. She has to win by combat, and now you wield the Darksaber." So it's kind of like how in Harry Potter you can't hold the Elder Wand, right? One of the 3 Deathly Hallows, unless you defeat the wizard who has it, and that's kind of like the idea of it, right? Like you can only win it through combat. You can't just have it. You can't just be gifted to it. You know what I mean? So it makes a little bit of a difference there. And now this is where it gets intense, and this is where, oh my God, so much is about to happen. We now see that there's a lot of activity coming in. It's like, how many life forms are coming in? None. And we see about maybe 40 Dark Troopers make their way back to the ship. The same Dark Troopers that Mando had just dropped into space. So now they're making their way in, and they're marching all the way through, and they're all the way in the ship everywhere. And their only priority is to capture Grogu and to protect Moff Gideon. Right? So everyone's on the bridge, they lock the doors, and they're just waiting. And you see Dark Troopers try to make their way in, and then we just see one. And I repeat, one lone X-Wing come in. And that's where we have, Cara Dune make a joke, oh, just one X-Wing? It's not just one X-Wing. It's the X-Wing, okay? And this is where, oh my God. I didn't tear up. Like, I was just so in love. I'm like, no, it's not just one X-Wing, is it? And I was hoping that it was Cal Kestis who heard the call from Grogu on Tython, but it wasn't. It was Luke fucking Skywalker. And then we just see so much happen go in, and then Luke just walks out, and you see a cloak. And they did really well with this because they had to do de-aging. They got an actor to kind of just CGI Mark Hamill's younger face onto this actor. But you just see him cloaked up and pull out his emerald green lightsaber and start slashing away through as many Dark Troopers as possible. And a little nod to the Revenge of the Sith, and use the same technique that one droid was shooting at Anakin and reflected the blaster bolt behind his back, right? So that was a little nod there. But you just see Luke go at it, and it had so many callbacks to a lot of different Star Wars. Like I said, Episode 3, and then in Rogue One, because now you see a dark hallway, or a hallway, and then a bunch of Dark Troopers attack Luke, and he's just cutting away, slashing, uses Force Crush, which is technically not a Jedi-used technique, but we have to understand in the original Clone Wars animated 2D cartoon that Mace Windu even used it to crush General Grievous's, chest, and that's why he had a coughing problem. But you see a lot of it go on there, and it was just amazing. I rewatched that scene. Like I said, I've watched it 5 times, but I went back a couple of times just to watch Luke Skywalker go ham and destroy everything in his path. And he finally gets to the bridge, and this is, oh my God, so amazing. You see him take off, and you see Mando ask, he's like, "Are you a Jedi?" He's like, "I am." And then you see that Grogu looks at him, and when Luke is attacking, you see Grogu just kind of looking at the screen like, "Oh, you did hear my call," right? And he doesn't really want to go with him right away. He's like, he doesn't want to go with you. He wants your permission. So Grogu wants permission to go with to leave Mando to go with Luke. And that's where we have the most touching scene. You see Mando just have this emotional moment with Baby Yoda. And right before Luke gets there, you see Moff Gideon panic. Like, he sees Luke in the screen. He's like, "Oh no." So he tries to, take out everyone on the ship. He's now shooting at Bo-Katan, like she just kind of deflected and got knocked out. And then go for Baby Yoda. Mando jumps in the way, and then he tries to take his own life, and then Cara Dune just knocks him out. And which is crazy because before the Empire collapsed, not too many people knew about Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine being Sith, right? Only select few knew, but in these remnants of the Empire, they gave more information out to know who was in charge of the Empire. We now know it was Darth Sidious, and it was Darth Vader, kind of running the show. Obviously, with more people knowing, and that's why there was so much, what's the easiest way? So much knowledge of what what happened on the Death Star, and they knew, top Imperials knew who Luke Skywalker was. He was the one who defeated the Emperor and Darth Vader. Well, technically just Darth Vader, and the Emperor was defeated by, Darth Vader, but no one really knows that part, right? But still, like, every Imperial knows that Luke Skywalker is a scary force to deal with, right? That is the one guy you do not want coming attacking you, and it's kind of done. So you see that Mando is having a moment, and he's like, Baby Yoda is touching the helmet, and he's like, I want to see, pretty much saying, I want to see your face before I leave. And that was kind of reminiscent of how Darth Vader wanted to see Luke's face with his own eyes, right, as Anakin Skywalker, not as Darth Vader. So Grogu sees Mando's face, and he goes down and walks over to Luke, and then we see kind of R2-D2 like get excited because he recognizes the Yoda species from seeing Yoda. Obviously, he was just surprised he wasn't getting whacked with a cane. But you see that he walks away with him, and it's just a very quiet bridge after that. And that's when we get to the credits. And that scene alone was so touching because Mando has grown so much as a character. He can take off his helmet a little bit more now, and you can see that his creed didn't mean that much to. It meant a lot to him, right? It does mean a lot to Mando to follow the creed, but he has grown to show Grogu someone who really does care about his own face and tells him, don't be afraid, kind of leaning back towards Ahsoka, seeing like I can sense much fear in you, and he promises that they'll see each other again. Now, I don't know if they're going to see each other in the next season. Maybe they'll do a time jump, and we see Grogu a little bit older. Maybe he can speak now, but we don't know. We won't know until that happens. So the credits roll by, and I didn't notice this at first, right, until I watched a couple YouTube videos later saying there was a post-credit scene. I stopped the video right there, and I went back and watched the post-credit scene. And it was intense, let me tell you. Now, our post-credit scene, real Marvel-esque, I can't believe them. Can't believe they did this, and it's actually more Star Wars that we're getting, because we already know we're getting the Ahsoka spinoff, we're getting Mandalorian Season 3, we're getting a sequel series to Rebels, and now we're going to get the book of Boba Fett coming next year, and I was wondering if the Mandalorian will kind of follow Boba Fett next season, but he doesn't recognize himself as a Mandalorian. He's just a simple man making his way through the galaxy, as we stated. But it's actually really cool to see what's about to happen. Now, we go back to Tatooine, and we see Jabba's palace. And you see... And it was real kind of cool to see Fennec Shand kind of just open up, and we see Bib Fortuna. For those of you who don't know who Bib Fortuna is, he's the Twi'lek that was whispered to Jabba in Return of the Jedi. Right? And Bib Fortuna was his top secretary and his right-hand man, really. So we last saw him on the Sails barge in episode 6, but we all assumed he died. Well, most of us did, but if you read Legends comics, you understand that it was all planned for Bib to leave before the whole barge blew up, and then he ended up taking over Jabba's palace and got his head in a jar, right, from the monks who actually shared Jabba's palace, and now he took another Twi'lek's body, so on and so forth. But we see Bib Fortuna get a little bit bigger and just see that all of his guards are being shot down, and you see Fennec Shand walk in, blast everybody, and then you hear Boba walk down, and he's like, Boba, I didn't know you were alive, I heard rumors, or giving him like a silly laugh, and everything like that. And then Boba doesn't really care, because Jabba the Hutt was pretty much Boba's second father. Like, he helped him throughout his career on Tatooine, and Boba would actually rest at Jabba's palace and pretty much live there, and he was his number one, bounty hunter. Just like, he was his favorite bounty hunter, just like Han Solo used to be his favorite smuggler. So Bib Fortuna gets shot and then thrown off the throne, and then you just see Boba Fett right there, and then we get the title Book of Boba Fett coming December 2021. So we are going to get, Boba Fett next year, and I'm just so excited. That was just, oh my goodness. There was so much to unpack in this whole episode. I'm still shocked. It's been 3 days, and I'm still, geeking out about it. Like, I was gonna watch it probably when I'm done with this, right? And it's just such a good episode. The whole season was amazing, right? And I can't believe, like, it's already done, and I have to wait a whole nother year to get more Mandalorian, right? I'm like, oh, it's such a shame, but this is such a good show. Thank you guys for tuning in every week and listening to what I have to say about it. If you like this podcast, be sure to, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, share. If you're listening to us on Spotify, be sure to, give us a rating there, share us as well. And if you want to be a supporter of the podcast, we're going to leave a link of how you can be in the description below. But, oh my God, please, guys, tell me, what were your thoughts of the whole season of The Mandalorian? Did you enjoy it? Me personally, I liked the first season of The Mandalorian. I thought it was great. The second season was for Star Wars fans. They had a lot of hidden Easter eggs throughout everything in the season. So if there were a lot of Easter eggs you've been listening to and you noticed that I didn't catch them, leave it in the comment section below. I want to know what I missed, right? Because I'm not perfect. But guys, are you excited for the Book of Boba Fett? Also, let me know in the comment section below. I'm just, oh my God, I'm so starstruck. I can't. But we have to take a moment of silence because the original Boba Fett actor did pass away this past week. And it's actually very, very, very hitting to us Star Wars fans. He was the original, person for Boba Fett. And so Timon Morrison took over and did all the dubbing for the newer DVDs and Blu-rays and everything else like that. But for more stuff like this, be sure to look under Tommy Rodriguez on Facebook. Look for this beautiful face. You find me on Instagram and or Twitter. You look under _hookahologists. And follow us on Facebook as well. Under the Hookahologists for more videos, podcasts, and everything else like that. Till next time, guys. Keep smoking.